What I'm doing here and what Els wants to do are not mutually exclusive at all. In fact, they could complement each other. So I know there's some people here to hear me describe this. I know there's a lot of people here to hear what Els's resolution and support that. So I'm going to present this plan. This is a proposed plan for the town of Chestertown and what we want to do to pursue equity and inclusivity in the town for the foreseeable future. So this is a program that I've actually been sitting on, an idea for a sort of a comprehensive program I've been sitting on for almost 6 weeks now, largely because the debates about the street mural, just really kind of took everyone's attention away. I just didn't think it was appropriate to bring this up, but it's also given me time to talk to community members to flesh out some of the ideas. I'm fully aware that I'm a 51-year-old white man and I don't have all the answers to this issue, and that we're going to need a lot of input from a lot of different community partners, from our Black community. And so I don't want everybody to look at this like, oh, Cerino thinks he has all the answers. This is a proposal. What I'm proposing is not the be-all, end-all, but I think it is a very good start that gives us kind of a vision for what we as a mayor and council can be striving towards for the town of Chestertown in terms of race relations, equity, inclusivity, and dealing with some of the systemic issues that linger in the town for the next 16 months. So why is this a 16-month plan? Mainly because next November, there's an election where the mayor and 2 council seats come up for re-election. So potentially on January 1st of 2022, we may be looking at a mayor and council that have 3 out of 5 new members. That's why the time frame is 16 months and not longer. It doesn't mean the program ends at that date. It means that will be a time to see who the new mayor and council is in 2022, evaluate how we've done on this plan, make any tweaks, and then move forward.
I think it's a great plan. I think it looks good for down the road. But we do already have on the table a resolution that has been brought forward that addresses the immediate need and the immediate action of what we have going on right now. And I think before we even think about adopting the plan, that we need to take a look at this resolution and decide what we're going to do with this. As it stands, yes, we have talked about it. I don't intend to make any changes in it. I did send it out to everyone. They do have it. I haven't heard back from anybody, so I'm assuming that either everybody is in favor of it and ready to sign off on it tonight, or some people have some comments that they wish to make about it, so that we can be clear about what direction that we're going in.
I think it's a great plan. I think that from my own view, I have some additions that I'd be happy to work with you on, Chris, that I think could augment it and make it better. I know that you and I have been working closely together on it, and I'm eager to see the 3 Pillars program not only implemented but also grow. And I'm hopeful that we are able to find a way, to your point, Els, of bringing your resolution to the table and beginning to bring them both together, right? Because you're not wrong. The one begets the other, right?
I've also been very impressed with this. When I first heard several weeks ago about the 3 Pillars plan, I really wasn't quite sure what to make of it at that time. But as I've seen ideas and flesh put on the bones of that fair framework, it responds to a lot of comments I got from people as we were talking about the mural. And many of those comments were saying, well, symbols are great, but what are we actually going to do? What are we going to do with regard to our legislation? What are we going to do with regard to education? People were really asking, is it just the mural or is there something else? And to me, the best I can say of Chris's 3 Pillars plan, it grew out of that discussion about the mural. And I have to, in retrospect, and as you know, I was opposed to the mural. I ultimately voted for it, but I was opposed to it. I'm admitting now that it's promoted a very healthy discussion.
Elsa's resolution, the opening, I feel like it's an opening statement for Chris's plan. I do think that we need to decide what the committee is going to be, what the function of that committee is going to be. I am a little bit concerned, Elsa, and I don't know if I should talk about this now or if I should talk about it as a separate topic, but I am a little bit concerned about how we empower people to investigate these types of issues and the training that goes behind it and things like that. So for me, I would love for that group to be a resource group, because there are groups out there that are already investigating racial discrimination, going through the details, getting them to the advocacy groups that they need to be with and things like that. That is my only concern. The rest of the resolution, all of the statements, I feel like that's an opening statement of Chestertown and could begin Chris's 16-month plan.
All right, so I think that was probably a pretty good segue to your resolution, Els, which is why don't you reread it?
All right.
You and I talked about this at lunch, and I'll probably reiterate some of my observations about it, and we can take it from there.
I like the resolution. I think it's well written. I think that regardless of if we have families that had slaves in the past or we didn't come from Chestertown originally, we all live here, and this town benefited from slavery. When we're downtown, we whitewash it and look at these buildings and think, oh, they're beautiful, but we need to tell a more true and full history. And I think that apology, it's a different level. It doesn't matter if we didn't own slaves or not. We are part of a town that is based on slavery, and we need to acknowledge it. But I also have issues and concerns with empowering private citizens to investigate. I would rather it be an advocacy group where people could bring issues to them and they could advocate for them and maybe change the wording on that. That is my only issue with the resolution.
So, I want to frame our conversation in that. And I struggle a little bit with your apology phrasing here, because if we do it tonight, when we just apologize, we're like waving at our history. We're not asking the people who, own these historic homes to revise, what they say on historic walking tours. We're not asking ourselves to challenge what we believe. I've told the story of George Washington founding Washington College 1,000,000 times to people visiting me in town here. Well, maybe not 1,000,000, but many, many times. And now as I go through this process, and thank you for bringing this up, because it helps me, it forces me really to go into this process and examine things and think critically of it from a different angle than I may otherwise. But I worry that we aren't bringing the rest of our community along, right? For all of the people on this call tonight, the majority of them are all the people that we regularly see.
Coming back to something that Elle said here in terms of acknowledging the problem, and I fully believe that problem solving begins with acknowledging that we have a problem. And this town has a problem. Whether it's appropriate for me as a person who's only had a home here for 20 years to apologize for that. I don't know, I make plenty of mistakes on my own and apologize for my own mistakes. But I'm also confronted with, if we as elected officials of this town don't apologize for its history, who will?
And are we working, are we engaging in this process and leveraging all of the information that's available to us? I mean, this has been done before, right? In 1988, there was the Japanese internment apology, which involved a long investigation. In 97, there was the Tuskegee syphilis experiment. But moving even more to the local town, Charleston has apologized recently as 2 years ago. Asheville, Providence, Rhode Island, and several universities have worked at this. Brown University, Georgetown, UVA, Princeton Theological Society. And are we bringing to bear, setting aside the 16-month plan, are we bringing to bear all of the resources that we possibly can to make this resolution as impactful as it possibly can be?
Okay, let the record show that we unanimously adopt the 3 pillars as the framework. We also unanimously adopted the council resolution to formally apologize for slavery and all of its negative impacts on members of our community. And we will be revisiting the Human Rights Commission's role and how it's set up. And I think it's off to the races, assuming we can get some paint on High Street on Saturday.